Hello, everyone. Bienvenido and welcome to Insert Title Here. I am your host, Austin Kennedy, President and CEO of Right Service Corp. And yes. Insert Title Here is still our name. If by chance you have clever ideas, please hit us in the comment section. So, as you know, probably by now, this is a podcast about our industry, utility vegetation management and environmental consulting, trying to shed a light on this little corner of the universe and talk to some of the folks that make this world so cool. We have one with us today. Michelle Lejins is her name. So, Michelle is a regional supervisor with an Eocene environmental group of the West. She oversees utility vegetation management contracts all across Northern California. She works with UVM managers and contract supervisors to ensure alignment with the client goals. Michelle has over 10 years of experience in the UVM industry and has held positions including quality control auditor, contract supervisor, and contract vegetation program manager. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I'm doing great.
Awesome. So where are you located?
So I'm located in West Sacramento, Northern California.
Okay. Very good. So Michelle, I will be totally honest as we kick things off here. We were in Knoxville, Tennessee for the Trees and Utilities Conference here a couple months ago. And we were at that lunch, which this year had surprisingly good food. I don't mean to degrade the food of prior years, but this year was particularly good, I thought. And I was sitting there mashing my plate that was heaping too high, and the Rising Star award was being announced, and I hadn't had any pre-information about this, and the Rising Star was announced as Michelle Lejins of Eocene Environmental Group, and I was like trying to get my eyes on your face, and you were a ways away from me, and we're walking kind of with your back to me. I'm like, Michelle Lejins of Eocene, like the Rising Star, like I'm just like not doing the name in the face thing. And so when I sat down here and I saw you, I'm like, aha, indeed, Michelle Lejins. I know who this is. And so congratulations, first off. How awesome is that?
Awesome.
When did you find out about the award and who told you about it?
Same time as you.
Oh, really?
When I found out, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do a really good job, I think, of keeping it, a secret right up until the end. So I too found out at the lunch, and I was probably equally surprised. But really honored to receive their award. I had a couple people that I would consider mentors nominate me for that.
Uh-huh.
And I was just really honored to receive it, and was really surprised.
That's super, super cool. And it was such a cool day in particular because it was like a clean sweep of industry awards for our family of companies. We had you with the Rising Star Award on behalf of Eocene, and then the Silver Shield Award, or I'm probably forgetting the name. Is it Silver Shield Safety Award?
The Will Nutter Silver Shield Award.
Exactly.
Yep,
Exactly. Wes Tragilgas of Right Tree winning that award, named after our former president, Will Nutter. What a moment for him too. I ran over and talked to him, and like I could just tell looking in his face that how meaningful it was to win that award that was named after Will. And Will had actually hired him. So we had you, we had Wes. I was like, man, this is like a commercial for how awesome our family of companies is. So thanks to you and to Wes for making us look good.
Yeah, to top it off, we had our incoming president for the UAA, Josh Beaver, hand out the awards. So
exactly. I meant to say that. Thank you.
He did a great job of keeping it quiet as well. So kudos to him for that. But yeah, he's really a full circle moment.
He's made for that. He's got an incredible voice and stage presence. Nothing rattles him. And obviously, much like you, he's been in the industry for a long time and achieved incredible things. So yeah, it was like a real-time commercial for us. Super cool. So I come back from Knoxville, and we have a Monday morning operations call. And I'm like, Michelle Lejins won this award, and I'm having trouble putting her face and name together. And Jimmy Williams, shout out J-Dub, was like, oh my gosh, Michelle is such a rock star. You need to talk to this woman. She is like absolutely one of our best employees. And so that was kind of the how this all came together. Jimmy Williams and Ben Keck, both are enormous fans of yours, as you may imagine. And let's just spend a moment. They will probably inflate their heads over this, but two guys whose personalities light up a room. I mean, in very different ways, right? Jimmy is so outgoing and is like the golden retriever of human beings. And then we've got Ben Keck.
Exactly.
We've got Ben Keck, who smile. Yeah, he's quiet, right? He's probably like in some ways Jimmy's opposite in that he's introspective and quiet. But is the smile, man.
Yeah.
The magnetic smile of Ben Keck
has
is
that $1 million smile.
what is brighter, the California sun or Ben Keck's smile? I don't know which one it is.
It's true. They are they're opposites, but they're both amazing in their own ways. And Jimmy he's super, like just like you said, super theatrical, kind of like Josh, and really has a big presence in any room that he's in. Ben's, a little more reserved,
Yep.
but they're two great individuals. So really happy to work with them.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's do kind of the I gave you a little bit of warning here, but I'm going to tell our audience what I told you, which this is going to be a little bit of a celebration of your career to date. As young as it is, it's already been impressive. And I want to use it as kind of a talking to you about what you've learned, how you've dealt with certain situations, as a bit of a guide to folks that are a little bit newer to the industry and how to do things well, right? So don't be bashful. We're gonna peel back this career of yours a little bit and help people understand some of the interesting challenges in California, and a little bit more broadly, just like how to excel in the field of UVM. So, let's go in the Wayback Machine and talk about your start in the industry. Just how did you become interested in? I don't think children wake up and say, I want to work in utility vegetation management, but what was that path like for you?
Definitely. Yeah. So, my story it's a little unique. My story, I started working at a Christmas tree farm, actually growing up, working on a Christmas tree farm. And, that experience, even though it was just kind of a teenage job, that experience just really kind of sparked my curiosity for working with trees. And then also seeing how you balance production with sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of the rewards to be reaped from caring about something and putting work into something year after year. So that's where I got my start. From there, I went to pursue my education out at Cal Poly Humboldt, received a forestry degree there. And surprisingly enough, I went to school for traditional forestry, did not hear about UVM one iota the whole time I was there.
Really?
But I really, yeah, truly. So we get to get more into that. But, one of the things that I really advocate for now is getting that presence in the community colleges and universities. But yeah, so went to school for forestry, and then thought I would continue on in academia. I took an internship at the University of Idaho, doing some not so glamorous work there in their bioengineering department, and decided, I really wanted to work in industry.
Mm-hmm.
I got some opportunities to interact with some industry individuals there, and I saw a job for a CUF, consulting utility forester, and it sounded really interesting. And then I just jumped in with both feet. So that was about 10 years ago. That's when I started my UVM career. And I actually started with our sister company, Right Tree Service.
Oh,
and
really?
Then, yeah, I did. Yeah,
Wow.
up in Oregon. So, really great experience there. I was a forest technician, aka work planner, with Right Tree, and then transferred over to Eocene, formerly CNUC, back in end of 2019 or end of 2018. And I've been there ever since. So yeah, it's been a great experience overall
I,
in the
I
industry. So
I love that. I mean, we talk so much in our family of companies about trying to provide career pathing for folks, right, so that they can advance and do different things throughout their career, things that are more challenging. And um, this was maybe like a decade ago or something like that, and already within Right Tree and CN, we were able to provide access to the industry and then change paths just a little bit and move into a related but different application of the profession. That's so cool. I love it.
yeah.
How was it different?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so doing like the pre-inspection, you're focusing on really safety,
Hmm.
compliance, customer relations. Um, and I mean, you still focus on that in other positions, but you really move from kind of that, managing the operations to, you know, inspiring others to kind of level up and develop and manage the operation. So kind of moving from that to my position now as a regional supervisor. I oversee our work across California, primarily Northern California, working with a team of project managers, data management specialists, environmental specialists, and consulting utility foresters. So, yeah, there's a difference there, I think, between managing the work itself and then kind of working with people to
Right.
manage the work. So,
A
yeah,
little a little
absolutely.
a little bit more isolated and maybe autonomous or a single focus doing the work planning, whereas like what you're doing now is, as you said, the sometimes the sloppy and thrilling world of managing employees. I always say I always say business would be easy if it didn't involve people. And that's that's that. Not that I don't
Yeah.
love all of the incredible employees we have, but I mean it is true, and of course our customers. But it can be complicated. It can be challenging. Yeah. So hats off to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't, and it doesn't, I think, develop into the success that at least it's been for us overnight. We just in this past year, amazingly enough, we've hired on some of the areas that I work in, we've hired over 100 new people onto our teams, and the numbers are they're kind of neat to gloat about and get excited about, but really building that culture is where we put all of the work. So that's we spend a lot of time really building our team culture, our safety culture, and like I said, that doesn't happen overnight. We put a lot of work into that, and it's cool, kind of tying it back to, like I said earlier, seeing how those little, day-to-day decisions and kind of small changes that you make can have these ripple effects, and you can really see how something you care for over time kind of turns out to be something really cool. So,
That is so true. And, where I sit, I see a little bit, I have the luxury of seeing like a broader perspective on it, which I think you probably have as well, which is beginning with the sort of the HR side of the equation, the recruiting for the position. Um, in some ways, you guys have, been like pioneers in the field of onboarding. And so that kind of shifts to the, what was the legacy CN system of onboarding to now with an Eocene, and then all the cultural development that you're talking about here. I have the bad habit, but intentional habit of oftentimes saying that, you know, whether we're talking about Right Tree or we're talking about Eocene, and in many ways we are just service providers, right? And there's a lot of people that can provide the service that we do at a basic level. They can buy specialized equipment, all these sorts of things, but it is the manner in which we do it, the training and cultural development behind what we do, that is the differentiator of us being better than our competition, quite simply.
mhm.
So this process of hiring hundreds of people for your contract and rigorously building up this cultural backbone for people who are so new to Eocene. Could you peel that apart a little bit more for me, please? What goes into that? How do you do it in terms of a process? Help me understand that.
Absolutely. Well, I think, building those relationships with the employees is just really important. But to kind of summarize it's about taking the field work, like I said, those day-to-day decisions and operations and work habits, and tying that with our strategic vision, our strategy. And so I like to think of myself as that bridge. So I try to make those connections all the time.
Right.
Anytime, we're making decisions, having conversations with our teammates, talking about how that ties into our bigger strategy and what things look like for us down the road. So I think a lot of that is connecting the dots for
Hmm.
people and just making sure they understand how important the work is that they do, and it's each person's effort is a piece to a puzzle. So I think bringing that in, and then, like I said, building relationships, that's been really huge. I think we do an outstanding job of that. Taking time at the beginning of a meeting, or, when we're meeting up with people in the field, to just, have a Gatorade with them, and talk
Right.
about, what kind of challenges they're going through that day, or, set some time aside for like a barbecue if we can with the team. And
Right.
I think things like that really go a long way, because we tend to not take time for that. I feel like when we're keeping our heads down and just kind of chugging along with the
Right.
work. So it's really important that we carve out some time for that. And my superiors, Ben and Jimmy, do a really good job of kind of making sure that we always kind of tie that into our operations. So.
I I can't help in listening to you think about Derek Van Ice, who always talked about the early days of CN, that now is the forestry division of Eocene, and some of the early what then became foundational contracts in building CN. Um, how much how many compliments that they would receive from their new clients just because upper level management showed up to begin the contracts, like literally in person. Um, and it resonates in what you're talking about right now, taking the time to be there, taking the time to show up as leadership as you are nowadays. Allow the employees to put a face to the name, establish that in-person relationship with the client. I mean, it goes such an enormous distance because part of one of the challenges I think in our industry is that we're contractors. Sometimes a client has had 5 or 6 different contractors who do the same thing that we do. Sometimes our employees have worked for 3 or 4 of our competitors, and how do we take that person or take that client and put our unique stamp on what's to happen when you're working with Eocene, right? I mean, I always think about this, and I'm always amazed when folks like you and your teams can make that transition, take somebody that no doubt has had a combination of positive and negative experiences in the industries. Maybe they're green, but like oftentimes they've been in the industry for a while. How do we take that person that's had that background and mold them into the employee that we need them to be?
Yep. And I think you nailed it. I think I agree wholeheartedly. That's the secret sauce, is just being there, on site with the team. And we just was discussing this with Ben last week, even though we work in some remote corners of the state, and even though it may take us
Yep.
2 days to travel there and back to spend half a day or a day with someone, it's time well spent, because it's about just kind of showing up and supporting the team. And like you said, kind of helping them progress into the best version of themselves.
I was digging through your employment history here, your resume. One of the things that just jumped out, I'm not going to talk about specific clients, but you have worked on a number of pilot projects, and you've literally started up new contracts from zero to what became significant material going concerns. Could you talk to me a little bit about that? What is that experience like? How do you get a foothold in new territory and turn it into the success that so many of CN's and now Eocene's forestry contracts have been?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I'm fortunate in some of the areas that I work is because we've developed a reputation for ourselves, and we try to uphold that as a company that people want to work for. So that helps us a lot in starting out up contracts. We will leverage our current staff if anybody's interested in moving to like a new area or starting on a new contract. It's always really exciting when you start a new contract, and generally people are really interested in that work. So we will work with our current staff potentially to make some transfers over to the new contract. um, and then, like I said, just developing that reputation really helps us on the hiring front, getting staff to come and work for us in a new territory. Also, the clients, new contracts, it requires a lot of work, and it's important that we continue that effort
Hmm.
throughout the life of the contract,
Hmm.
and that's really big for us too. We're not interested in there being like attrition or fallback after
Right.
that initial kind of ramp up phase. We want to have that longevity and that really strong connection with the clients over time. So really just getting to know them, working with them as closely as we can, and just making sure that we have all of the information, the data, the tools, the literal tools we use in the field or the software that we need to be successful at our job. So just kind of walking that line where we letting people know if we need some additional tools or support in order to be effective at our job. We know what it looks like to do it right and what that takes, and we try to be as transparent about that from the get go with the staff and the clients and everyone involved. We want to make sure we set ourselves up for success. So that's a big part of it too.
I mean, it's incredible. Derek, I believe, was with the company for 14 years and just recently retired. And a little bit before Derek, but mostly during those 14 years, we were new to the state of California. But now, we have hundreds and hundreds of employees across the state. And it's amazing how successful you've been, how successful we've been in replicating that process over and over on small contracts, on big contracts, taking, getting 5 cuffs on this contract and just extrapolating that and growing that presence
Yep.
exponentially to the point where we've got on some systems hundreds of employees on the same system, and that is incredible. I love looking back and thinking about that. So
Absolutely. I always say I stand on the shoulders of giants, and those predecessors, Jimmy, we talked about, Ben, Derek, all of these people who've laid the foundation for some of the work that we do is, my job. I try to continue on kind of that legacy, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of great work went into that.
you're doing a heck of a job of it, my friend. Let's talk about UVM in California. I think it's got to be probably the most unique beast in the forest of animals in UVM. From where I sit, so as I was a rights lawyer for about a decade, and so much of what I did was just deal with claims, and I spent a lot of time thinking about wildfire related liability in the state of California, and spent a lot of time just trying to absorb the unique experience that it was to face the practical day-to-day challenges of working as a pre-inspector or cuff in California, and thinking about that in the context of this unique concept of inverse condemnation, the legal regime in California, which I think is best described as a form of strict liability of sorts, just to kind of keep it simple, based on this idea in California that utilities engage, and that's not unique to California, but recognizing the idea that utilities engage in a form of eminent domain where because of establishing their facilities, there's always kind of like a taking that's occurring of sometimes a private property for the public good. And as a result of that, when damage occurs, the utility is often viewed as being held strictly liable. And so it is this like super unique, in my view, high stakes game where there's very, very little margin for error because the utilities are held to such an exacting standard. And so it feels like to me there's even, there's a higher stakes game that's going on for pre-inspectors in California. So
Absolutely.
if you could just reflect with me a bit on what is the day-to-day reality of working in some of these spaces in California where we're kind of combating challenging geography, incredible topography, and like the undeniable forces of climate change.
Absolutely. You brought up a lot of good points. And, firstly, thinking about, wildfire prevention and mitigation, when we're doing our pre-inspections, here in California, like you said, it is an incredibly high stakes environment, and there just isn't room for error. We're listing trees to be worked, mitigated, pruned, or removed, and around the power lines. And there isn't room for error. We can't miss trees. It's just not. I've worked in 4 different states, all on the West Coast, and California, Southern Oregon it's so unique in that sense that there is no room for error. We can't miss trees when we're signing up work. And there's a lot of quality control that's, as a part of our process. So we always say, trust but verify. And we have a lot of different steps that we follow as far as quality control in UVM in California, checks and balances to make sure that there are no missed trees out there. So that's a really important aspect. And as far as the terrain goes, definitely, we have some really unique terrain areas that we may need to be helicoptered in order to do our inspections. We have individuals who are hiking through streams and kayaking to get to areas that are infrastructure that's on an island. We have all kinds of different terrain here in California, incredibly steep slopes that we traverse. And that's why we talk about the work that we're doing and the work that we're doing and the programs that we work on, our safety programs. We really have to have that mindset for the terrain that we work in. So, a lot of preparation goes into doing our inspections. Sometimes we may be preparing to inspect one area for, a majority of the year before we actually go out and do the inspection. Also, California is incredibly unique in their permitting requirements. We have some projects that may have, So we've got a lot of strict permitting requirements in California. We have some projects that may have a 3-year lead time planning up to be worked to do the vegetation removal.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. We have a lot of, endangered and sensitive species in California that we have to be mindful of. It's a incredibly amazing place to live, and with part of that is because there's just so many unique types of like species of wildlife that we have here in California. But along with that comes with the need to make sure we're not taking the wildlife or infringing on their habitat if we can avoid it. So a lot of permitting goes into the works that we do. So a lot of unique challenges for California.
Shout out to our NEPA and CEQA nerds out in the audience with all the regulatory framework out there. It is wild,
Absolutely.
wild, but well worth it. Yeah, I mean, I during my lawyering days on behalf of the company, I would often go out to places where maybe we were proximate to where a fire started, just parts of investigation, either, yeah. Anyway, oftentimes I would look at these places and I couldn't understand how anybody would get into them. I mean, let alone, conduct some sort of like informed inspection of what was going on there. Like physically, how would you get into them? And as you've said, kayaking, helicoptering, it's wild. I mean, it looks like places where like billy goats would have a hard time, mountain goats would have a hard time, accessing and or navigating. And I feel like at some point, maybe I'm making this up, but I think somebody told me that this particular train that we were looking at, one of the Star Wars movies was shot at, and because of the dramatic mountainous lunar looking landscape that it was. But anyway, yeah, it is wildly impressive what you and your teams deal with and overcome, and help ensure that power flows to people who need it all over the state of California. It is incredible.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's really unique with California too, because like you said, we have those that mountain goat terrain
Yeah.
where like we have some areas where you actually have a rope that you need to hold on to climb up or basically rappel down. Um, and then we also work in the heart of San Francisco
Right.
and the Bay Area, and that has its own unique set of challenges.
Right.
And then our customer base, you mentioned access. Our customer base, is incredibly varied. Some of the remote parts of California, and then we have our really urban areas, and getting access on to these properties can be really challenging too. Some people are not happy to see us, and so we have to kind of work through that. Getting access onto properties too. So
Not only is it UVM, but it's public relations, right? I mean, it's hand to hand backyard diplomacy. You're out there
yeah.
helping people understand the value of what you need to do, and oftentimes it's just cranky and like not looking to have you do it. So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
mind blowing.
you will get yelled at, but it's all in the end worth it. So
Right. Very good. If you could, just for a moment here, let's pretend like we or somebody in our audience don't know anything about pre-inspection, and your task is to like walk a transmission line, like a level one inspection. Like how would you explain that to like a newbie? What are you doing in that instance? I'm sure there are people that have never heard of this before, so let's just talk about that basic concept. Walking a transmission line, pretend it's not on a lunar landscape in California, but you're just like walking a transmission line and performing a level one inspection. What is that, and what do you tell your new trainee?
okay. So yeah, if we're on a transmission line and we're doing an inspection, we are looking for vegetation that can either grow in or fall into the power lines, the infrastructure. So we're looking at those that type of vegetation. So we're looking at things that can grow in and things that can fall in. So there's different ways to go about doing your inspection, but um, a lot of people will look at things that maybe could grow in first. So if we're, in a transmission line in a span, we're looking at all the trees and, using our experience and training and knowledge, determining what will come within the conductor security zone within a certain time frame. So, probably a year for the transmission lines. And we're also looking at trees that could fall into the lines.
Mhm.
And this can be a little bit more tedious because now we're having to branch out from kind of just what's in the immediate vicinity of the infrastructure and looking at any tree that's tall enough to hit the power lines, doing a level one inspection on those. So, typically we're looking at that from the vantage point of the right of way. So we're looking at the trees on either side of the right of way. We do work on work for on some projects in which we need to fully encompass and look around every single tree that could strike the power lines, basically doing a 360 around every tree and doing a full inspection. So that's a really in-depth version.
Right. That's like outside of level
But
one. Yeah, I would assume.
that's outside. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's
but looking at for the obvious defects and conditions on the tree that could again cause it to fall in onto the infrastructure within the time frame.
it's to me it is such a challenging job, and it is as the former lawyer and the current CEO, I think a lot about like what do we need to do to kind of like make this situation a little bit fairer for the UVM industry, for the pre-inspection industry. And I think it just comes down to like a standard of care that is defined as like basically if you conduct a level one inspection, you've met your duty, and you've done what you can within reason to prevent vegetation from encroaching on these lines, because it California is such a unique example of it. It is so hard to in any way reasonably anticipate trees that could fall into the lines when you consider like, the Santa Ana winds blow through these areas and, get up to 80, 100 miles an hour. And, in the state of California, I think there's like 8 million trees that are within strike distance, in theory, within strike distance of the lines. Like how do you deal with 80 mile an hour winds, 8 million trees that are within strike distance that, in fairness, the utility, they're not paying you to inspect 8 million trees. We would love to be paid to do that, but we're not. Like this just the whole thing is such a complex set of trying to manage an incredible risk in incredibly challenging circumstances in an area that I think we need a clear standard of care.
Absolutely. And just like you said, it's about those parameters.
Right.
We're not going to do an inspection for 80 mile an hour winds unless we're asked to, or unless that's normal for the area. So it's about, knowing about what those parameters are for the inspection we're doing, what the scope is. And certainly like the weather patterns in the area is, really important to understand that when we're doing our inspections. I wanted to mention, that's a big part of kind of parallel to my role as a regional supervisor. I am a trainer for the upskill California Community College pre-inspector training program.
Okay.
And that's one of the goals of that program is they want to they want to make consistency for our workers in California as far as like the training that they receive for pre-inspection. That's a big part of that. And like you said, it's about knowing what exactly qualifies as a level one tree risk assessment, and, ensuring that, our people who are doing the inspections know exactly what that looks like, how to do their job, because we were managing living organisms, and it's
Right.
just we are never going to eliminate risk. It's about, lowering the risk that's out there and doing what we can, but there'll never be zero risk.
No, it's hats off to you and your crews. It is a challenging job, and I think we do an excellent job of it, without a doubt. And also without a doubt, I don't think that anybody appreciates who has any distance from this situation how challenging it is, the number of variable circumstances that you and your folks are dealing with, and the consequences of not being excellent at it as you are and as our crews are. It is a wild, incredibly impressive space where we do excellent work, and I'm always in awe when I have to interact on a close level with what's going on out there. So, well done, my friend. Let's talk about you were saying here that you're this California Community College pre-inspector training program. I had never heard of that. Could you tell me a little bit more about what goes on there and how did you get involved with it, first off?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so it is, it's a program that's one of its kind, pretty much in the world. One of my counterparts, Todd Walker, has been
I know Todd. Yeah.
working on the program. Yep. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so he's been working on the program for some time now, and he kind of helped rope me into it. And yeah, they've had basically 43 classes to date, and they've had over 550 graduates from
Wow.
the program.
Wow.
Yeah, and they take people with no experience in UVM, or sometimes they have experience. The majority, I would say, don't. And they could be just a Starbucks barista. They come to this program and say they want to learn about utility vegetation management pre-inspection, and they're put through an 80-hour 2-week course that teaches them about how to perform a level 1 tree risk assessment. They also begin the EHAP, the Electrical Hazard Awareness Program certification. We teach them about tree biology, safety, tree identification, and then we also talk about some tips for doing job searches in the industry. So yeah, like I said, they've had over 550 graduates,
Wow.
and they've had over 500 job placements from the program. So yeah, it's been really a huge success, and I'm really glad to be a part of it as an instructor.
That's so cool. And I'm embarrassed to say that I had never heard of it, and it seems like exactly what we need to be doing. Right? It's the form of, it's like an apprentice program, but it's not. But it is exactly that sort of intensive, high quality technical training, and also
Yes.
introduction to a field where that is totally below the radar. Right? That I think that you're right. Your average barista or person on the street, just even if you're involved in forestry, as you were,
Yes.
had not heard of utility vegetation management. We need to come up with. Do we need to come up with a better term? I don't know. We can maybe that's part 2 of this conversation. We come back to talk about rebranding UVM. We'll put our people.
I like it.
We'll put our people on that. Yeah, that's doing the Lord's work out there, getting people trained up on pre-inspection who maybe have never ever thought about the topic before.
Exactly. Yeah, we teach them, the technical knowledge and the field skills. They're actually out in the field using actual inspection software and patrolling. So we work on that program, and then we've been able to reap the benefits and actually hire some of the graduates to our company from the program. So it's all good.
I love it. I love it. Tell me a little bit more about what are some of the other work that you do within the industry. I know you're involved with tour de trees and things like this. Do you actually ride, or are you part of the support staff? What do you do on behalf of tour de trees? And what is that?
Yeah. So yeah, tour de trees is it's the primary outreach and fundraising activity for the tree fund, the Tree Research Education and Endowment Fund. I've been a writer for 4 years. I've done 2 of them in person and 2 of them virtually. And I ride my bike and raise money for the Tree Fund. And it's a really amazing nonprofit. And it's just a great opportunity to spend some time with bike enthusiasts, cycling enthusiasts, and also tree enthusiasts all at the same time, and raise money for a great cause. So really enjoy doing that. And I will be in North Carolina next year. It moves around to different places in the country every year. So looking forward to that.
I had the good fortune of having Mr. Paul Putman on the show a couple episodes ago. So honestly, looking for a little reason to talk about the Tour de Trees, which is awesome. I've never ridden, and I need to. I was thinking,
oh, you'll have to.
Yes, yeah. Now I'm setting myself up for some sort of public obligation and pledge here. So we will.
It's a lot of fun. I rode with Paul on one of the tours, and yeah, it was a blast. So
this year, Michigan, is that right?
yeah.
Like around the lake or what?
Yeah, they were up in that area. I did virtual this
Oh, okay,
year,
okay.
which is that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, how do
if
you do
can't be in
that?
person.
What's that about?
Yeah, so you do the same amount of commitment mileage wise.
Hmm.
So I think they had like 420 miles this year, I think. And you can
Whoa.
you have like several months to complete it. You don't just have to do it in 5 days like you do when you're in person. And you can swim, run, walk, bike.
Okay.
It's kind of a personal fitness goal thing.
Right, and try to keep up with wonderful, lovable lunatics like Randy Miller, Matt Searles, dudes that are biking all the time. It's fan. It's
I know. Yeah, they're incredible. Matt's definitely kind of a titan on the bike, but usually if he gets really tired, he'll ride in the back with me on like the last day. So
what do we call dudes? Hammerheads? Is that the term for
oh
for
yeah.
for
Hammerheads, exactly.
dudes on bikes setting the pace out there? Hammerheads.
Yep, hammerheads. Yeah, absolutely.
Things I didn't know until I started hanging out with the folks at Tour de Trees. Michelle, I am gonna steer us here towards a landing spot. This has been an incredible conversation. It's so clear to me why you've been already such an important impact on our industry and a leader within Eocene. A big picture question for you here as we kind of move towards the end. What do you think are the biggest opportunities and the biggest challenges that we face as an industry, or perhaps that you just see on a practical level as you go about your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that comes to mind that I'm particularly passionate about is we have a lot of really knowledgeable people on the brink of retirement, and passing the torch is, I think, a really big opportunity for us right now. And that's, like I said, that's something that I'm passionate about. We have, I chair the outreach committee for the last 2 or 3 years for the UAA. And we've developed a mentorship program where we're, working on bringing students in and pairing them with mentors in the industry, people who've been around for a long time, COOs of, large companies in the industry, professors, other folks who are really interested in kind of sharing their knowledge and, like I said, passing the torch. Yeah, I think that's a huge opportunity for us, and something we really need to focus on coming up in this next 5-10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in my just hearing you think about it is both an opportunity and a challenge, no doubt about it. And I see it. You think, I mean, with Derek Van Ice, Scott Packard, all these people who are so formative to our industries, who are either going to retire, have retired, on the brink of retirement. You're so right. It's there's a real brain vacuum that needs to be filled, an experience vacuum that needs to be filled. But in talking to you, we were talking about earlier with Josh Beaver and Jimmy and Ben, and it just takes like 10 seconds of reflecting on the people that are leaders within our company in subject matter expertise, like myself not included. Like the industry will be just fine, even though there are huge shoes to fill. People like you are out there, people all over our companies that have a passion for doing what is difficult under difficult circumstances for in such a meaningful way, an industry that needs it. All right, Michelle, before I let you go today, we ask every guest who comes on to try to help us fill the yawning gap here in our name. We have made a bit of a shtick of this idea that our title is Insert Title Here. The name of our podcast is Insert Title Here. Tell me, my friend, do you have any good ideas that we can throw into the hopper for names for the show?
I have a few, yes.
Please.
So, and I got this the outreach committee through the UAA, we our Hispanic Outreach Task Force put together a glossary of terms.
Okay.
And so I used this, I put it into my friend Copilot and came out with a couple ideas. But ground to crown was one.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and and then out on a limb was another one I was thinking of. And
Yes.
then my favorite, personal favorite, was the drop zone.
Oh
So,
my.
and you could do like a mic drop.
Oh my goodness. I mean, these are fantastic. The last one is the drop zone. Oh my goodness. We're gonna have to pay you like intellectual property rights, aren't we? This seems like you and your friend Copilot. We will be cutting checks to. Those are awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. Awesome conversation. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on Insert Title here. Once again, I'm your host, Austin Kennedy. I hope you enjoyed the show. I know I did. My sincere thanks to Michelle Lejins of Eocene of the West for joining us. Please leave any comments or questions in our little YouTube section there, and make sure to join us for our next show. Thank you.